Okay, apparently we are live. Okay, how do we advertise this to people? Okay. Alrighty, we've got the link, so I should be able to share that to people now. Yeah, that's fine. I've no idea if anybody's one person watching. I've no idea who that is. Say hello if you like. What's that? I have no idea what you're saying. No, just loud enough to be heard. Or send me a message. Three people. Hello, three people. No idea who you are, or if you want to ask something. That was a bit unnecessary. Yeah, you were. Come and join me then. Come and join me and uncork one of these topics that you have. You said loads. Yes, you did. Clover is being very shy. Yes, you are. That is exactly what you're doing. Yes, you are.
Right, I'm here, God.
Oh, God, terrible. The strain. Ego. Class content, consent models, bottoming topics. Okay. Consent model? Okay, our consent model.
I really wanted wine, but instead we have tea.
Yeah, that's because we just didn't buy any wine. That was the thing.
Wine will be way better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
okay.
today was our
Yes.
day of relaxation. It was the first day off since since Christmas, really.
Yeah.
And we did loads of stuff for the studio.
Yeah. So we did loads of administration stuff. We went out to the print for framing. Then we bought a load of stuff. Went to the
that
studio.
wasn't studio stuff. That was us stuff.
Okay. Including the stuff that we bought for the studio and took to the studio. Okay.
That was studio stuff.
It was studio stuff. Yeah. And working out lots of prices and what workshops we're going to put on.
Yeah.
Which is going to be nice and exciting.
We have some really exciting workshops planned that we're looking forward to announcing.
Yes.
Someone needs to make the banners.
Someone does need to make the banners, but we've been extraordinarily busy on this day off, and I have not had time yet.
There's time before bed.
Okay. That's all the pricing.
I'll do that. You do the banner.
I'm already doing that. Probably through. Yeah, okay.
You're already doing the banner?
No, I'm already doing the pricing.
No.
What do you know?
Do the banner.
I will do the pricing and the banners. I'm already partway through the pricing.
Oh, I've done the pricing.
You haven't done the pricing.
We've done it together.
For which?
For ropes and things.
Okay, we've done the pricing
Workshops.
apparently. Okay.
I worked out all the workshop prices.
Yes, you have. This is true.
Careful, we might be accused of having a spat now.
Oh. They're talking across purposes. I'm working out the road prices. You're working out the workshop prices. Yeah. Division of labour.
Fair enough.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, here's a little bit of an announcement. We have rope now, so we will be selling rope.
We will.
Yeah.
More importantly, pink, purple, and red rope.
Yes, pink rope, purple rope, red rope, and lots of natural rope.
Yeah.
So there's, not just coloured rope, but the coloured rope is Ogawa, so that might be important to some people.
It might be.
Yeah. You don't think so?
I do.
Okay. So it's worth saying.
So we will put pictures online soon.
Yeah.
And
we have a question. Oh, we have a question outside of the questions we've already got.
Okay.
Okay. What is the hardest thing to learn for me? Oh, that's a good question. What? You've got an answer, haven't you? Something just popped into your head, and it's a non-nice thing, and you don't want to say it out loud.
Oh my God! I just thought I'd look at you funny to make you feel really uneasy.
Okay.
What has been the hardest thing for you to learn?
Yeah, that really is a tough question.
How to tie me.
Yeah. How to tie her?
I'm very complex.
She is very complex, and she gives much feedback.
Moaning.
Moaning, groaning.
Helps you learn.
Okay, ultimately, she has learned to be incredibly picky in order to get things the best way they can be.
Well, if you didn't mess it up.
Yeah. Now we're having a spat. Or
We're
we're about to have a spat.
I'm only messing.
Okay.
No, seriously, that was been the toughest thing for you to learn.
Step back.
I know.
What?
I think.
I just answered.
Yeah.
Just ignored
that as well. Stepping back, but also, and that's part of it, is that actually, I think sometimes we've been so concerned with kind of pleasing other people. For instance, with workshops, with shows, and we've been concerned with what other people want to see instead of actually just enjoying it ourselves and realizing that people will enjoy what we enjoy, and if they don't, then that's okay, and they can go and kind of look at stuff that they enjoy.
Yeah.
And that just to enjoy it for ourselves, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to, I don't know, step away from it after a while and look at it objectively.
Yeah, I think sometimes we can get really bogged down in detail
with
everything, like with even the studio. Like we were starting to put on workshops based on what we felt other people wanted, instead of actually what we would like to put
Yes.
on. And you know, it's a balance because we want to do that.
I can make a memeable joke about that.
Go on.
It's that we were putting on workshops that we thought people wanted, not what I think they need.
This is true.
Yeah.
So it's finding the balance.
Yeah.
Because there's an element of that.
There is an element of that. There is an element of what people need as well as what people want.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think, it's stepping back and looking at yourself objectively and seeing your own faults and accepting them and then doing something about them. And that continual process of self-assessment, maybe that's the hardest thing, because you can look at this issue, but they all get resolved by stepping back and actually looking at yourself and figuring out what you really want. So yeah, a bit of a rambling answer, but
There's lots of things that are really hard. Like I think.
Yes.
Exactly.
And by the way, yes, we will ship internationally. If you're prepared to pay the shipping, we'll ship it anywhere.
Yeah, or if we're like traveling.
If we're traveling, we might bring some with us, but
like
not a ridiculous amount.
But if we start to bring multiple sets, it might be dodgy.
Yeah.
Customs.
Yeah, we can't just like come with a suitcase full of rope.
Yeah. But another thing that's been really difficult for both of us has been accepting when we realize what we don't know. So like if we learn something new, like I think learning from Yukimura, we thought we knew so much, and then he opened this whole world for us, and we kind of had to demolish everything and start again. And that can be really depressing and discouraging, because it can become quite overwhelming when it happens. And now we really welcome that, and it means you're growing, and we never want to stop growing. We never want to reach a point where we know everything, because humans are fascinating and complex, and
yes,
even what?
Nothing.
Even like,
complex and unfathomable.
Yes. Even internally ourselves, trying to understand ourselves can be, and each other.
Yes.
Yeah. Which one's mine?
The one on the left. I haven't mixed them. Mine's got the chip in it.
Okay.
Mine's more wabi-sabi than yours.
Fuck off.
So yeah, this is the first time we've done a stream like this, and how embarrassing it looks afterwards will determine whether we will do another one.
Yeah, we just won't watch
People's
it.
response to it.
I will not be watching this.
Yeah, I will have to watch it.
I will not.
To determine whether I can face the other one.
What, with me? The last time you did this, I was in Ireland.
Yeah.
And I was watching from abroad, and then I got bored.
Thanks.
I'm joking. I went to sleep. You were really late.
Yeah, okay. I didn't make you go to sleep, though.
No, I needed to go to sleep.
Yeah. And I was alone and bored without her, so I did a live stream. We ought to do these kind of regular, but,
Yeah, it's just time,
depends if people want to watch them or not.
Ego.
Ego.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about ego. Which came up in a class we were teaching in Copenhagen recently. And personally, I think ego is the most dangerous thing in the rope scene. Because people, it's always people with a really bad ego. And ego can be a really positive thing, but it can also be a really detrimental, negative thing. And it's just finding that balance, that healthy balance of having enough ego where you want to do well and you want to please yourself and the person you're tying, and you want it to look aesthetically beautiful, or not if you're not into that. But a good ego, because a lot of people think ego is a really negative thing, but actually ego can be really healthy.
It can be. I mean, it depends on what your ego is about and how you arrived at it. And I think rather than, there's this tendency for people to be like, oh, you shouldn't have an ego, you shouldn't have an ego, you shouldn't have an ego. Well, it's everybody's got an ego, but there's a difference between deservedly having an ego about something you're good at and still not being an arsehole with it, and just having an ego because you think you are, I don't know, it. And it kind of, it's an overwhelming, I am great, and it doesn't concern itself with other people.
Yeah.
But everybody does have an ego, and you should have ego to the extent that you have pride in the things that you achieve that are real achievements. Like real skill is a real achievement. You should have real pride in it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is.
Can everybody hear us okay, by the way?
Yeah, if someone can respond. Because I learned that I talk really quietly.
Yeah.
Like I did a live on Instagram.
I'll just move this over here where it's in front of us.
I was really high on paint, and I did a live.
She hadn't been huffing it or anything.
No, when we were painting the studio.
Yeah.
But
there was a lot of, you know.
I was talking a lot and I couldn't hear anything I was saying, so.
Apparently nobody else could. Yeah.
And then at work, I had to quieten down a whole room, and I was like, "Hey, everybody!" And like I said to my colleague, I said, "Oh my God, no one's being like, I'm shouting and they're not paying any attention." And she was like, "You are not shouting. You are not even nearly shouting. So I think I'm too quiet."
Yeah. Bit low but intelligible.
Okay. Probably better.
Yeah. I just hit the volume just as you shouted into the microphone.
Oops.
Okay, we are intelligible.
Okay.
That's the main thing. There you go.
I was gonna talk about ego more.
Okay, talk more about ego.
So we need a diagram. No, I don't really need a diagram for this.
You can put it. You can draw a diagram if you want. I'm just going to top the teaser.
Okay. I can't even remember what I was going to say.
You're going to say it in pictures.
I was.
We drink a lot of tea, by the way.
Yeah, because we can't have wine.
It's not we can't. Yeah, well, we can't at the moment.
Hang on.
Because, you know.
Yeah, this is my. Hang on, that's not a very good diagram of what I was going to talk about.
Okay, good, very good diagram.
This is the learning curve.
Of how to draw a diagram.
It's very steep at first, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And then it kind of.
Then it flattens out, yeah.
And then it goes up again, doesn't it?
It's kind of, yeah, but in a small step, yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake, Dave.
What?
Oh, your pen has a rubber.
Yeah, my pen has a rubber. It's protected.
Like, it's not an exact science, this learning curve.
Yeah.
It's not making the point I wanted to make.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah,
so,
we're losing people.
With the learning curve anyway, right? I think it's just about accepting where you are in your journey, in your rope journey. And like, say you're like, if everyone can see this is the start of the learning curve. This is the start of the learning curve. And, you know, it's very steep at first, and then you're going to plateau. And I think sometimes what happens with this is, like, with a lot of ego, you think you know more than you do. So, like, you'll start to kind of show off and think, oh, I know suspension lines and stuff like that. So you'll start to kind of do things that are with like, outside of your skill level.
Yeah, I mean, a very big thing about ego is if somebody's doing rope and they think they've learned everything and they think that they're great at it, they stop learning. They stop looking. They stop doubting themselves. They stop introspecting. They stop looking to go any further with it. So, you know, ego can just like cut off your learning at the point where you think, yeah, I'm great. That's it. I don't need anything anymore.
It's more of like a learning cycle, really.
It is.
You know, you never really stop. And I think, like, appreciating where you are in your journey, because like we had this discussion the other week, and we were thinking that, you know, it's kind of not the responsibility, but like each teacher, if they teach well, their students will then come along and actually be better than them. So if you're on your learning curve and your teacher is up here and you're down here, by the time you get up here, you're going to be even better than they are. But what you have to do is actually...
You're going to be better than they are then, unless they are continuing to push themselves, at which point, you know, they were here, you were down here. By the time you get to here, they've moved up here. But it's not, if you look, it's not like, here's a big gap and you've moved up to there, they've moved up that bit. Then when you move up to here, they're up to there, and gradually the gap narrows. And in some cases, if you get really, really good students, then they do exceed what the teacher's done.
Yeah, but it all really relies on back down towards the bottom of the learning curve and doing your fundamentals and, you know, doing it right and learning how to tie people, not just like a lot of people focus on the ropes, and it's about the people and understanding people, and really putting that time in, so that when you do, because if you don't do that, you're never going to make it up the learning curve. So really putting the time in at the bottom and celebrating being there, and knowing that it's a great place to be.
This came up teaching last weekend.
Yeah.
Everybody started from the point where they didn't know a thing. Everybody started with nothing. Everybody started, they couldn't even tie a single column tie. Everybody had zip, you know, and, you know, an illustration of Clover's like, you learn, then you find out what you didn't know, then you learn again, you find out what you didn't know, you learn again, is that single column classes are really good for A, people who don't know anything, and B, people who are really advanced. And in between that, you've got a lot of people who think they understand something and they don't really, and or at least there is a deeper understanding to be had. And then you get people who are advanced who have got to the point where they appreciate how important the fundamental things are, which is why, you know, you get your best students coming to our beginners classes again and again, and you get people who have never been to one coming to the beginners classes, and both of those ends of the spectrum getting something out of it. Do we have tips for handling the body well as you are tying? Yes, we do. It's really hard to just in words.
That's more a demonstration.
It is more of a demonstration. It's almost a class.
Did somebody say tie up Clover?
No.
I'm joking.
Yeah, because I never do that. Yeah, but more tying Clover. Clover needs tying more. I need to tie more. That was it.
Yeah.
That was the last one in the stream anyway.
Is there anything in particular you're looking for with handling the body? Like in what regard?
Yeah. In what way? Big subject.
Yeah. I think like you can send a lot of different messages depending on how you handle the body.
Handling the body before you tie somebody.
Well, yeah, we always say rope starts way before rope.
Yeah.
And you kind of set the tone depending on how you like approach your scene. Depending on what message you want to portray.
Yeah.
Like whether you want it to be like DS or a bit lighter or a bit darker. You can start to add that tension in even before, and more atmospheric tension than actual tension of the ropes before you start. I like those scenes best.
Yeah. I mean, when we're teaching, we start actually with approaching somebody, and everything that we set up before we actually tie is incredibly important for how the tying is going to go. So while those are things that turn up a lot in privates and intensives, there's not the sort of thing that's been turning up like at conventions, because you've only got an hour and a half slot. So you could do kind of an idea, a concept, or a demonstration, but you can't do stuff that's deeper.
Yeah.
Should it depend on what was negotiated before? Most things you do depends on what's negotiated.
Yeah. Definitely. I think our negotiation is a bit different because, well, just because we've been together for so long, that we don't necessarily negotiate before scenes. However, you're really aware of what I do and don't like and would be happy and not happy to do.
Sometimes not aware enough.
But like when we're both tying with different people, absolutely.
Yeah. There's a lot more caution tying with other people.
Yeah. Especially in the
I'm assuming that this is in context of the body handling stuff. In regard to the previous question.
Yeah. Okay.
The body handling.
Yeah, definitely. I think like if you like establish that you want a more DS scene, and I think sometimes it can be really good to explore what those words mean to people. So no assumptions are made. And then you will kind of know what body mechanics you can do. It's always really helpful to know if anyone has any mobility issues. For body movement, you know, if someone has like I had a sore knee for about 6 months from running, and you know, you used body handling to kind of help with that, like getting from a kneeling position up to standing. There's like certain techniques you can use, so you can kind of help yourself as a rigger and help the bottom to stand up. So yeah, kind of, yeah, I think definitely like whatever you negotiate really does help shape the scene.
It does, and it's a very useful skill. As a lot of people may know, I've been having very severe back trouble.
Yeah.
I had a very severe back injury. I couldn't walk for nearly 3 months. And coming back from that and doing rope, and especially doing shows, I have done a lot of stuff where I was using leverage and techniques to move Clover so that I wasn't having to muscle it and put unnecessary strain on myself. So I'd say that was useful from that point of view as well.
Yeah.
I think it's really worth studying, and it's something. One of the problems currently, I think, in my life is that I am very aware of many things that I would like to work more on, and we're at a very busy point in our lives where I've just got a stack of stuff that I really want to work on to make the rope stuff better. We're just building up a backlog as we just discover more and more things, and more things that I really want to study in depth.
And it's really good to read about it again, like going back to that sort of learning curve. Sometimes as your skill really improves, it's really good to revisit things you already knew. Like single column tie is a really good example.
Hey Clover, so much of the tutorials and workshops are directed to the top, but finding stuff to learn better bottoming skill has been hard. Do you have suggestions to where to find these resources? I can recommend the robotandguide.com.
Yeah, but that's kind of like really fundamental.
I know, but you can put some more stuff up there.
Yeah.
And Clover also does rope bottoming private.
I do.
Yes.
Yes. So something that we try to do more and more is to include rope bottoming information in every single teaching class that we do. So if we teach at conferences, there will be information for tops and bottoms privates, our own workshops.
There always is, and there always has been right from the beginning.
But now we try to put more in. I've moved to a new website. I got rid of Kinky Clover, and it's now the ropebottomguide.com or .co.uk. Com. I don't even know my own website. The ropebottomguide.com.
Yes.
And I do plan on writing a lot more on it. But
we've not really had a lot of time.
Yeah. We're sort of working on this studiococoro.co.uk site at the moment.
Indeed.
So I will get around to it. But we're really excited because we have so there's a class that we teach called Reciprocity, and Reciprocity, very briefly, is how to use communication to enhance your scenes and actually to communicate with your partner without breaking your headspace. So trying to create a more safe space to be able to speak and communicate without damaging your scene. And we're teaching, I think, 3 of them at Bed. Yeah,
it's such a good and in-demand course that it's going to be on 3 times in Dallas.
So we do Reciprocity like as an intro, and then we do Reciprocity with partials, and then Reciprocity with suspension to kind of help with kind of pain processing and really actively putting the skills into practice. But yeah, I think keep an eye out. So there's some people who are doing some really good stuff. You know, just to think of a few people doing rope bottoming stuff. There's Foucault, there's Gorgon, Ebby Becks. There's quite a few people out there doing some really solid stuff. And I think just having those conversations and keeping new ideas flowing and what people would like to see and stuff like that would be really helpful and kind of inspire new classes.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I totally agree with you that FetLife is really hard to search. It is. I know everybody's on it and we're on it as well, but it's a rubbish website. Its design is absolutely terrible. Its search facilities are terrible. But unfortunately, it's where everybody is. Pretty much every other website is better for searchability than FetLife. So I guess it is what it is on FetLife, but it's not necessarily a good place to find resources.
No, it's not.
Or accurate information in some cases.
I think the reciprocity classes would be too hard because it's really hands-on to do online. It's for, you do need a rigger to come to the class. A rigger that's able to tie suspension-worthy TKs and familiar with suspensions for the suspension
and
class.
Somebody that you're comfortable with and being intimate with.
Basically someone that you really completely trust, because they are really, like, especially the suspension one is very, very advanced. The partial one is equally as advanced, but there is that kind of safety of being on the floor. However, I think the tie is way harder. But the concept of reciprocity, we could probably do something online.
Maybe,
But the hands-on ones would be really difficult. But we are teaching them at bed and also beach bind in April and May this year. So
cool. Let me see. Is there much more a rope bunny needs to learn and know for starting suspension? Is that more than in the rope one guide, more than for floor work? If you could give me a little bit more context on that question, equal Kitty, and I'm happy to answer it. More than floor. Okay, that was good. Is there much more that a rope bottom needs to know than they need to know floor work?
It's a complex question because I think it depends on the person. Personally, I find floor work harder than suspension, depending on what we're doing and how emotional it is. But I think
there's lots of qualifiers. Because if you're doing a really, really easy relaxed side suspension with lots and lots of supporting lines, no. If you're doing something really super intense on the floor with lots of leverage and pressure, and you were still on the floor. It really depends on the pressurization of it. People can go in the air pretty much straight away if you lift them as if they were in a hammock. But there are different degrees of intensity with floor work, with partials, with full suspensions.
I think the thing
so
with
it's a bit of an open question.
I think the thing with floor work is a lot of people underestimate it and think that it can be quite it's beginner. You start with floor work, then you go to partials, and then you go to suspension. And I get that because no matter what with suspension, there's always a time limit. And sometimes that time limit can be very short. So you are relying on your rigger to respond very quickly.
Have the skill and the speed and
definitely.
the temperament to remain under control also.
With floor work, it's even easier if they do have to cut someone out. You're on the floor, so there's no risk of someone dropping. So you can see that sort of natural progression with learning. However, I think for rope bottoming, if you're just in a hog tie with your face down on the floor, that's going to restrict your breathing a lot more than many suspensions would. Some suspensions will be worse, obviously, but many of like that, if it's a fairly comfortable side suspension, you're going to have fairly hot, it's going to be easier than just a hog tie on the ground. So I think it really depends. I think you can learn an awful lot just on the floor as a rope bottom, and an awful lot of body awareness, a lot of self-awareness, which I think is even more important than body awareness. Just being self-aware is really key to any good rope and bondage scene. So I think you can learn an
Self-awareness
awful lot.
is the number one thing to cultivate.
Yeah, definitely.
For bottoms and tops.
Yeah, and you just do that through experience, through evaluating yourself, through having those discussions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think once you then start going into the air, it's going to feel a little bit different, because you know all of your body weight is going to be on X amount of lengths of rope, depending on the suspension. So it will feel different. You might have to process a little differently. And yeah, there may be a time limit. So what I would suggest is kind of go into it doing stuff that are well-known, easier suspensions, just to generate that. Even ones that can be kind of easily go back into a partial, so you can get that floor again easily. And I would recommend doing it.
Yeah, and there's a learning cycle for that with tops and bottoms as well. Going floor work is easy, partial suspensions are hard, full suspensions are even harder. And then when you get better, you realize, wow, I can make floor work much harder than that suspension. I can make these semi-suspensions much harder than, and so on. And then you get into harder and harder suspensions. Sometimes people accidentally do super hard suspensions to start with, which is less than desirable. You just got to be, you know, really controlled with that stuff. It's unfortunate the inability to search on FetLife is a deliberate design choice. Yeah, I think not. In my day job, I'm a programmer, and when you search for somebody's name and you search for an exact string, and your result turns up somewhere in several pages of results for an exact string on a search that isn't supposed to be restricted or jimmied so that you can't, like the one for groups is supposed to be, oh, we deliberately didn't so that people can't find this or that, or on people, you shouldn't be able to search the area so that you can't just find new people in the area. When you've got something like, I'm just finding a person whose exact name I know, and you can't find that with the search, that isn't design, that's incompetence. That's just, they don't know what they're doing. And there are too many things on FetLife that are just like, wow, that is sloppy and awful. So I think that's kind of an excuse rather than a deliberate design choice. But again, you know, we all choose to use FetLife, and it is what it is. Yeah. What?
Nothing.
Oh, sorry. I just don't believe that they designed it to be crap.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. I've got no tea.
Have mine.
I'm not going to have yours. You know.
What else is there? Oh yes, I will do more writing. I have loads that I want to write about. I'm a terrible writer. Honestly,
you're not a terrible writer.
I am.
You're just terrible for writing on a regular basis.
I write better when I've had wine.
We took your whole website away because you couldn't stand the fact that you wouldn't put stuff up regularly. And you felt like, and she had guilt pains about her website and not putting up any writings.
Well, I will write.
All right.
I will write. I will write. I just need to, like,
for the Robot and Guide.
I need a glass of wine and then I'll write.
For the robotandguide.com. All right, I'll get wine, I'll give you a glass and you will write.
Tomorrow I will write. So it's going to be a ball of crap. You know it is. I will write. I have loads actually that I want to write. Oh yeah. So
even if it's a ball of crap, she will write.
I apologize if it's a ball of crap.
Expression I've never heard before, a ball of crap.
Dave, you know I make up my own expressions.
You do make up your own expressions and it's very cute.
My favourite is taking a leaf out of someone's shoe. It's not that funny. I thought it was a genuine expression.
Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, do you think taking a leaf out of somebody's shoe is a funny expression or not?
It's just
it
makes the point.
It's not a regular expression.
Like, what if you were walking around and you had leaves under your shoe?
Under your shoes?
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really think about it. It just sounded
Okay,
Ah.
go again.
When did that happen?
I think it's space. I think space causes mute, and we call it mute.
I'm just going to repeat what I just said.
Good.
So a few people have asked about how on photo shoots we don't abuse people or have misunderstanding. No, I don't.
This is terrible.
I know. I don't know how to phrase it.
It's awful.
I don't know how to phrase it, but how we don't like have misunderstandings or hurt people, or
can we phrase it as how we do get on well with people and understand things?
Yeah. Okay. What he said.
Yeah.
So yeah, people have been asking about that. So, and we do this through communication. So,
and understanding.
Yes. Well, yes. And so if we agree to do a photo shoot with somebody, I'll send them a great big long book of an email explaining how we work together, what to expect on photo shoots, what we would expect from models. I ask people to have read the Rope Bottom Guide before shooting with us. And there is like a model release form that like Hitler wrote, basically.
Yeah.
So covering like all
Clover
bases.
is literally a Nazi.
I'm not, Dave, stop it.
That's a joke. Everybody knows that's a joke.
I know.
Nobody thinks you're really a Nazi.
We also do this thing where we don't make flippant jokes that people might misunderstand on photo shoots. So yeah, we send this email out. So then it's really clear where the photos will be used, what we might use them for, what we absolutely require. So for example, you know, I like to photo expressions. So, you know, we kind of require people to be showing their face in it, but you know, so we do ask people to be really honest with that. We'll have an honest conversation. You know, I don't want to force anyone to do anything they're not comfortable with. So, you know, at a time, we do have a certain amount of photo shoots a year where we shoot models who don't have their faces in images. So would they like to apply for one of them? Then when they arrive for the shoot, we spend like far more time drinking tea and talking than doing anything else.
Much tea.
So just making
on a professional basis.
No, actually, just getting to know people, just spending some time getting to know the person that you're about to work with.
Yeah.
And really cultivating that relationship.
Yeah.
And allowing people see you as a human and knowing that, you know.
And if there are any alarm bells,
yeah,
we don't shoot people.
No.
Because we don't want to, you know, I mean, if somebody says, I have this restriction, and then you go, well, we can't shoot you if you have this restriction. And then they go, oh, no, it's okay.
And that has happened a few times. And I've said, no, I'm not comfortable going ahead with the shoot. You know, maybe contact me again in a year or so, see how you feel then. Because I don't want to do that to someone. I don't want someone to feel that they have to change their belief, you know, and their values to shoot with us. I would rather not shoot that person or just like do something different with that person. Like we can tie, we can play, we can have different fun, you know, we can go to a road jam, you know, there doesn't have to be photos. Or if you do still want photos and whatever the restriction is, you know, we might be able to factor it in another time.
Maybe.
Depending on what it is, of course. But yeah, so just spending time getting to know people and actually following up afterwards and making sure people are okay. And, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and basically that they're into the kind of thing that we want to do and the things we've got to do to create the mood, and you know, and that's all known about in advance. And if they're cool with that, you know, that's cool. If they're not cool with that, there's no hard feelings in not shooting that person. We're not like we don't adjust things so that we can shoot with people no matter what, and we never push on what's agreed.
And it could be, you know, we don't know you, maybe come along to whatever event we're going to, we can meet you, get to know you, and then discuss it there in person. So you don't have to agree to everything initially.
No.
Just making sure that actually, because there's three of us involved, it's myself, Dave, and then the model, all three people are comfortable with whatever's been agreed. Is really important.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And thankfully, I think we've been really, really lucky. You know, everyone we've shot and created and worked with have been really amazing people. Oh.
And always to be safe. If in doubt, don't.
And I think as well, coming back to that ego thing, it can be really good, or it can be really bad that photographers may want to get a certain image, or really push boundaries. And I think for us, we'd rather do less. So like if we say we're going to do X, Y, and Z, but we only get around to doing an X and Y, then we can always leave Z till next time. And I think for everyone, it's going to be much better being excited to work together again another time than trying to cram everything in and disaster happening. So just kind of taking your time, using especially that first shoot, just getting to know each other.
I mean, that's an important factor, that sometimes we don't really know somebody and we need a couple of shoots to get to know them. And certainly I can think of quite a few examples where the levels that we've shot with them, well, not the level's the wrong word, because the level has remained the same, but the intensity has changed and the feeling has changed, that we've gotten to know somebody and been in a position where we can do a much more intense scene-based session rather than set up just for pictures. So, and we like more and more tying with people that we really know. And that we really get on with on a personal basis, and often become friends. And the first time with a model is generally, when I say a model, I mean somebody who's only known to us as a model and not as a personal acquaintance. That one's very much careful finding out of things and see whether we're going to,
because it's like mutual respect, and we don't want to risk overstepping any boundaries that haven't been agreed. And just knowing that there can always be a next time,
I mean, sometimes if you have something you haven't negotiated that you wanted to do, it's quite frustrating, but you still don't do it. We did a shoot after the studio had opened. Well, we did some pictures while we were in the studio, and I had played this person. They looked absolutely great, and I was thinking, oh, if I just open her top now, it'll look absolutely amazing. But we hadn't negotiated that, so I didn't. And then, well, we'll have to talk about it another time. But don't even need to get a boobs out, just open her top up a bit of exposure. Anyway.
There's always next time.
There's always next time.
Or maybe not. In that case.
Well,
no, there will be a next time.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there will. Yeah, in a few weeks. Awesome. Finding my tying is becoming better the more I read Kimbaku books, more than the photo books, how-tos. What books have you read that had an impact on each of you? So, the books that have had the most impact on me are probably photo books to start with, which was the Sugiura Norio books, because it made me want to do Kimbaku. That's the number one thing.
Also, I'd be interested to know what everybody's favourite books are, not how-tos. Sorry, that sounded really aggressive. Not how-tos. Not how-tos, but any photo books, or just books that are related to. Actually, I'm reading this one.
Yes, I read this one ages ago.
I'm reading this one now. It's backwards, but it's called In Praise of Shadows. Is that backwards to us or just to them? I don't know how this works. I hate you. Anyway, I've tried to start reading it about 15 bazillion times. And I think I did read it once.
Yeah.
I did read it once, but I forget what it says, so I'm going to reread it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be really interested to know in everyone else's favorite books, because we're starting a library at the studio, so we want people to be able to borrow in the studio, because the amount of books I've loaned out and have never come back.
Nobody still borrow them.
But yeah, they can read them in the studio.
It's a reference library, not a lending library.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And Segura Norio's anniversary book is in it.
Yes. And we have some of those for sale.
Just don't ask me how much yet.
Don't ask her how much, via email,
No.
and she will work out the price and respond to you.
Okay, via email I can deal with, not on Instagram.
No. Anyway, I should finish answering the question.
Yes, do that.
Initially, the Segura Norio books, latterly though, it's not really been books on bondage that have had the most effect. It's more been stuff on, oh God, this is going to sound so terrible. Books on art, books on culture, books on philosophy. And I know that sounds a bit,
Pretentious.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid pretentious, but it's true. Damn it. Yeah, I do actually have Year of the Bakushi, but I have not started reading it yet.
We have like a massive to read book pile.
Yeah.
Like it's huge.
We've also got lots of autobiography. Well, not lots, but we've got some. We've got some people's personal books.
Yeah. Personally, I like the ones with photos because I can read them quicker. I can.
You've got two books with the same amount of words. One of them's got pictures, one of them hasn't. You cannot read it quicker because it's got pictures.
Yeah, I just mean the ones with pictures in it with no words.
Moving swiftly on.
I have no time for reading. It's really sad. It makes me sad.
Okay. No idea what you're reading. Is this relevant?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. I keep getting all these like spam porn things.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Christy. I want to suck your cock. I don't have a cock, and I don't know.
You just never reply to put them straight, do you?
Well, no, because it's spammy stuff. Something will happen if I reply. What else has come in?
Nothing. That's just confirmation. Makes sense. I have a huge pile of reading by my bedside that I have not dented in the last 2 years.
Yeah, but we're going to start reading.
It's just gotten bigger and bigger.
We're going to start reading. We'll have reading nights. Oh, you can have like reading with Dave at the studio. You can
I can sit in front of everybody and read out of.
Oh my God, we should
loud.
do it.
No.
We should do it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you could just read to me.
I just read to you. Oh my God. Okay.
Or I could read to you in different accents.
All of them Irish.
No. I can do like French and German and Australian.
Okay. Let me hear your racist accent.
No, not on, like, no. Not racist.
It depends who you ask. Ah. God. Right. Okay. Was there anything else? What did I have? Somebody asked me something, but you've lost my page now.
I turned it over.
Did you? Can I have the pad back?
Yeah, it's my pad.
You don't have, right, but you don't have to like turn the
Competence.
pages for me. Competence in Shibari and Kimbiku.
Get it.
I don't know what to say about it because I don't know what the context of the question is. Yes, it's good to be competent.
Explain. Why?
Why is it good to be competent? Because incompetence have accidents.
You could do that one.
The importance of aftercare. Okay, we have a prepared answer. Aftercare is important if it's important to you.
That was my answer.
It was.
You stole it.
Yeah, my answer is generally beware of the cult of cuddles. All right, now you're pulling the face at me.
Yeah, because you like to cuddle after rope.
If you like to cuddle, cuddle. It's fine. It's fine. Nobody's going to hold it against you. And just don't believe people saying, you must cuddle, and have a blankie. And
I like a blankie
I
and
know,
slippers.
I know you like a blankie, but you know, we don't take slippers with us to the other side of the world. So
No, but I have a
that's-
pair at the studio.
You do.
I think for us, we're not too bothered about aftercare.
Mm,
But again, that could just be because we're together so long.
yeah.
So like,
And also, some circumstances have made us where, you know, we do something intense in a workshop and it's now get on and teach, and you have to pull yourself out, or you do a show and like the first ones we were doing in America, when you felt it incumbent upon you to prove to people you hadn't died.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I really like after we do a show or some like a demo or something in class, I really like to move swiftly on because we're there to teach, not indulge.
Mhm.
And I don't like to indulge on what I just did because I feel like everyone has just seen like inside my dirty brain. So I like to just ignore that and move on to the next thing and just talk like it didn't happen.
Mhm.
So, you know, which is why I normally tell Dave to teach.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, aftercare for us, we don't really do it.
Mm.
We do probably without realizing it.
Yeah.
And
We
I
do
think,
we do winding down stuff at
Yeah.
some time afterwards, and generally we'll have a nice meal and a nice bottle of wine, and we'll talk about stuff and watch TV and just
Yeah.
turn the brains off basically for a little bit.
But having said that, like if I was to tie with somebody else, I would make it really clear to them knowing what it was I needed, which often is to not indulge on the feelings of what we just did, and probably just to kind of chat and hang out and chill. Is probably the way I would like to approach aftercare. But yeah, I think making it known beforehand what it is you need afterwards is really important.
Talk about it, and you know, this has come up before, and people have had aftercare requirements as diverse as lots of cuddles, leave me alone, and I just need to sit in the corner and hate you for an hour, which are, you know, different approaches. And the leave me alone and the I just want to hate you for a while wouldn't respond well to the warm blanket and cuddles.
No.
No.
And sometimes I love hating you.
Yeah. I had a period where it just wasn't a good scene unless I got her to say that she hated me. Yeah. 3 little words.
Yes.
Which worked for me anyway. Sunshine Bundy is more of a thing that needs to be demonstrated. Do you have any recommendations to any demonstrations? You can come and see us. Oh, that's a little bit self-promoting. I don't know.
I think Fred RX does a really good body handling class. So depending on where you are in the world.
Okay, that would be the case.
probably-
I haven't seen it, but if
Yeah.
you have, yeah.
Who else? Wild Ties does one as well.
That's true.
We do one.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't think who else does them, but I'm sure there are lots of people. I don't want to kind of just name 3 people and everyone else is shit. It's not the case. My brain just is like a sieve.
Also, there'll be a lot of people doing stuff that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
We don't like have the encyclopedia of everything everybody's
So what I
teaching.
would say is message us, one of us, probably me, if you want to reply, because Dave is busy. Babe, you know this. You know this.
I am busy.
Yeah. So if you want to message me on wherever.
Banners and road prices.
FetLife, Clover, Facebook, Clover Brook, Instagram,
I need to set up.
Clover Brook.
I'm sorry, I was trying to be on the same kind of level as you.
I know, like over here, my head is massive, and over here it's like normal size.
Yeah, and you'll lower down again.
So message us and tell us what part of the world you're based, and then we can make recommendations.
If we have a recommendation, we may have a case of, I'm sorry, we don't know.
Yep, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can try.
Yes. Right. I think that's cool
Okay.
because we've gone on quite a bit.
We have rabbited on about crap.
We have, unless somebody has asked you another question
No.
via another means, I am going to say thank you for coming.
And we will try to do these a bit more
We
regularly.
will. We will try and do them on a regular basis.
Yes.
And yeah, we're doing Tuesday nights, Co-Crow Studio, regular practice night.
Yeah,
Starting
there is
Tuesday.
regular practice night.
Rope jam
Not
every
far
month.
from Nottingham in
Yeah.
England.
Thank you. And
Thank you for joining us.
Yay.
Yeah, until next time.
Until next time. Bye.
Yeah, we'll do them more regular. I don't know when, but
I thought you were going to come with like some big finish there. Until next time.
Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us and our ramblings.
Yes, and our silly ramblings.
Bye.
Bye bye. Yes, end.
End.
End.